Waking Ursa Minor was such a fun island hopping adventure. Hello everyone, welcome back to a fictional escapist. My name is Chris and today's video is the Waking Ursa Minor book review. Now I'm hoping that that's not super glary in the ring light, but it is quite a glary cover, so I apologize if you can't see it all that well. I will hold it up to you. The cover is beautiful, and the more you look at the physical book cover, the more it makes sense for the story, which is something that I absolutely love when an artist can do that, can bring out a story in just one cover. One look is all you need to know that you're going to enjoy a book. The reader is dropped into the islands of Riverdar. This is a island hopping fantasy, so if you do like island fantasy, you're going to have a great time here. Riverdar as a whole is suffering at the moment because the magics that previously sustained the entire world have become unbalanced. Now, before what's called the Rivening, all of these islands were connected and fused together, but after that event, they were all separated and now they are separate islands within this world. The map in this book is really cool and it has a cool arc, the map itself throughout the book, which I thought was a really cool touch, but we'll get to that later. So now that these islands are divided, the only hope is to basically fuse them together and bring them together as told by an ancient prophecy. Now, in the same breath, that prophecy also says that if the islands are to come together, a great evil could be unleashed, which is sort of not really what you want. And that's where our main protagonist, Sarah Kayla, comes in. Sarah Kayla is an orphan, and she's previously believed herself to be fairly normal and vanilla and not really worth that much in her life. It's just going to be in the orphanage helping out the other orphans and the madame who runs the entire building. She's been fairly sheltered from this dangerous past that her parents had left behind. When one night her innocence is completely shattered by the woman who took her in as she guides her to some papers that her parents left, which explain this prophecy and her part in it. Now, there are other members of this world who are in play that want to stop this prophecy from happening at all costs. We have Brother Ophricus. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. He is a trained assassin monk from the Separamus. It is his job to stop and kill Sarah Kayla before she has a chance to bring this prophecy to life. They do not want this evil that is potentially going to be unleashed to get anywhere near the world, and she must be stopped at all costs. Now, after their first interaction, Sarah Kayla is on the run and she has to keep moving forward and finding out how to survive so that she can bring this prophecy to life. All the while, the Separamus do not want this to happen and they are hunting her down. That is basically the plot in a nutshell, and it's interwoven with a whole lot of delicious fantasy that I think most readers are going to have a really good time with here. Can't go too much into detail without going into spoiler territory. Just know that you are going into a world full of shifters. If you like shifters of many varieties, you're going to find that here, done in new and interesting ways. If you like found family, you're going to find something here that you'll enjoy. I really love a found family trope in a lot of books, and I was absolutely blown away by how well that was done and the twists and turns that were used to get me emotionally invested into the people in the book here, and it was just an all-round fun time for me. But let's jump into my more eloquent and actually written down thoughts so it makes a bit more sense for you. The standouts for me in Waking Ursa Minor was definitely the plot, the prose, and the world building that happened. The prose in Waking Ursa Minor was lyrical and delightful without being purple prose. It didn't quite get to the point where it was over the top and lovely and you had to really think about what was happening. There wasn't an overuse of, alliterations, similes and metaphors, but it was still quite lyrical and easy flowing in the way that it was written. This book is super approachable. I'm going to liken the prose here and the way that this story is crafted to Brandon Sanderson. Not in terms of the story itself, just the way that it is written, in that a reader can pick this up and be immediately immersed in the world, which is something that I think both Helen and Sanderson have done quite well. Is it's very approachable. A new fantasy reader could pick this up and be immersed in the world. Now, if you're a visual reader, you're going to have a great time with this. There are some great visual descriptions that have happened throughout the book, which is also a plus for me. But I also think if you're not a visual reader, you're still going to have a pretty good time with how approachable the prose is in Waking Ursa Minor. Sometimes when you start a new book and you stop and you start, particularly in fantasy, it can take a little while to get acclimatized again to the world that you're in. I did not feel that way here. Every time I picked it up, I was immediately back in the spot where I'd left off, and I think that is something really special, particularly for a debut author to be able to achieve. Moving on to the plot. Now, as we discovered earlier on, the plot was fairly simple, and what I enjoyed about the plot is that it stuck to its guns the entire way. The plot didn't change. The plot was the prophecy. That's what we're doing here. There is no ifs or buts about it. What impressed me was how rich this plot became with the interwoven layers of character arcs and histories that we got throughout the story. So each time we would run into a different species, and we did a couple of times in this book, we would get to learn about them and how they built into the prophecy and what their beliefs were about the prophecy. So the plot never strayed from where it was going, but we did get to see all these different thoughts and feelings about said prophecy along the way, which I thought really built this plot up, and it built the stakes up quite well, again in a very approachable way, to see what the impact was going to be for not just Sarah Kayla, our main protagonist, and not just the brother monks who are trying to stop it from happening, but also for the general population that we were introduced to along the way. Which leads me to the world building. So at the beginning of the book we see the map, which looks fairly standard, yeah, for an island map. We've got a whole bunch of islands there, and then each part of the book, so it's split into 3 parts, and the 3 parts of the book represent different islands. So we as the reader get to experience different islands and what is happening on that island, still with our main character Sarah Kayla, but how each different island operates, the different belief systems, the different creatures that we have on those islands, which I thought was really neat. We get to see each big island in the world play out and what happens within those cultures. And because each island has their own sort of separate history and separate inhabitants, it makes this world feel not necessarily huge, but full. We get to experience a full world, which was really cool to see, and the arc of the islands that we go through was really cool, but I won't go into detail with that. You'll have to read it to get the full story. I had a great time, if you couldn't tell, with Waking Ursa Minor. I think it was such a solid debut and a really fun time, a refreshing take on a lot of different fantasy tropes that we often see in the genre. If you are someone who likes island fantasy, we take place underwater for part of this book. That was pretty cool, even though I do not like the ocean, and through the last 100 pages or so I was like, why are we here? The high, don't get me started. I would not want to run across a half shark, half man creature, but if that's your vibe, you're gonna have a good time here. That's it from me. I really enjoyed it. I gave this one a 4.25 out of 5 over on Goodreads, and you can read my full review over on epicindie.net should you so choose. Let me know if you've picked this one up. Let me know if you're going to pick this one up based on this review here, because I think a lot of people will have a really good time with this book. I will also put a link down below to a couple of other booktubers reviews if you do want to go ahead and watch them as well before deciding. That is a new thing that I'm going to do on this channel. If I know that there are people that I watch that also have reviews out, I will link them down below just so you've got a few other voices to listen to as well, not just my own. So if you like the content, give it one of these. If you want to see more of it, then click subscribe at your will, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.